Muslim people did not commit this horrific act. A man named Omar Mateen did. To blame an entire religion for the acts of a single individual is nothing less than bigotry, and that is not what this country is supposed to be about. Our goal as a nation must be to bring people together, to prevent violence, to prevent hatred, and to create the nation that we know, standing together, we can create. Our goal must not be to allow politicians, Donald Trump or anyone else, to divide us up based on where our family came from, the color of our skin, or our religion. We also know that it is imperative that ISIS be destroyed. This is a barbaric organization which has caused massive suffering to hundreds of thousands of people in the Middle East, and let us not forget that most of the people who are suffering and dying as a result of ISIS are Muslims. And by the way, it is Muslim troops on the ground today who are taking the fight to ISIS as we speak and pushing them back and defeating them in Iraq and Syria. Muslim troops. We also know that we must do everything possible to improve local, state, federal, and international cooperation to prevent further lone wolf type actions like we recently saw in Orlando. This is not easy, but we must accelerate our efforts to prevent the kind of mass murders that we saw in San Bernardino and now in Orlando. Further, as I have believed for decades, we must rethink the idea that assault weapons like the one used last Saturday night, which was legally purchased by the murderer, an individual who was investigated by the FBI for possible terrorist connections, who walked into a gun store and legally purchased that weapon. The idea that these types of weapons designed to do one thing and one thing alone, kill people by the dozens, the idea that they should be sold and distributed in this country seems to me to be terribly wrong. Those types of weapons should be banned. Let me now say a word about my views about where we go with regard to the Democratic Party. And let me be as clear as I can be that I think the time is now, in fact, the time is long overdue, for a fundamental transformation of the Democratic Party. We need a party which is prepared to stand up for the disappearing middle class, for the 47 million people in this country who are living in poverty, and take on the greed of the powerful special interests that are doing so much harm to this country, who have so much power over the political and economic life of our country. We need to be spending time bringing working people and young people into the political process, not spending all kinds of time and energy raising money from wealthy individuals and large corporations. The American people are hurting, and they are hurting badly. They want real change, not the same old, same old. While the very wealthy become richer and corporate profits soar, real unemployment in this country, not official unemployment, real unemployment is close to 10%. Youth unemployment in inner cities and in rural communities is often 30, 40% or even higher. Most Americans are working longer hours for lower wages, and despite the successes of the Affordable Care Act, tens of millions of Americans still have no health insurance, or they are underinsured with high deductibles and co-payments, and millions more are unable to afford the outrageously high prices of the pharmaceutical industry, who charge us more for our medicine than the people of any other country. Life expectancy, think about it. Life expectancy, how long we live, for millions of Americans is today in decline, in decline. People are dying at younger ages than their mothers and their fathers did. We have more people in jail today, 2.2 million, than any other country on earth, and we all know that our immigration system is broken. Young people are sick and tired of going deeply into debt for what? Simply to get a college degree at a time when we need the best educated workforce in the world. Climate change is the major crisis facing our country and our entire planet, and yet we have not done anywhere near enough what we have to do to take on the fossil fuel industry and transform our energy system away from coal and oil and gas in order to save the planet. People that
That's Bernie Sanders giving a talk in Washington, D.C. Back with her Dana Bash and also presidential historian Douglas Brinkley. Dana, I mean, it's interesting that on the same day, I don't know